You might have heard about IO psychology before, maybe in a general psychology class, but this might be the first time you've heard about it, and you might be wondering what this class is going to be about. This module is designed to answer that big question, what's this class about, so that you have context for the other topics. We can answer that big question by knowing the answers to the 3 questions and the goals for the module. Being able to answer those questions also creates a foundation for achieving other goals for the class. I sometimes describe IO as being the intersection of psychology and business, with psychology reflecting the part of the definition about principles, theory, and research, and business representing the part about work settings. The part about psychology means that IO is very focused on people, including the way they behave and the way they think. The 2 parts of IO, the industrial and the organizational, represent the broad differences in how we can think about people at work, and there are even more specializations or focus areas within those categories. We'll talk about topics related to both industrial and organizational in class. The industrial focus is sometimes called personnel psychology and overlaps a great deal with human resource management in considering employment practices and policies. The organizational focus includes more big picture considerations related to the work environment, like factors influencing motivation or stress. It's important to keep in mind, though, that those categories don't mean the topics and the interests are completely separate. They just help provide a way to organize knowledge and practice. Speaking of knowledge and practice, it's also important to know that IO is based on the scientist-practitioner model and what that means. You might have gotten the basic idea from the research overview I included in the last module. Scientific research is important in psychology, and IO is part of psychology. As with many of the applied areas of psychology, IO emphasizes the use of scientific knowledge and method in organizational practices. That also means that research needs to be relevant and applicable to organizations. Our book mentions that many people would continue to work even if they won the lottery. In other words, work is about more than just money. You might remember hearing about the importance of work in your general psychology class. Freud said the healthy life is filled by love and by work. We can question some of Freud's points, but this point fits with what we've learned about work. You might also remember learning about Erikson's stages, some of which can be influenced by our work. That's part of the reason I decided to emphasize the idea of good work in our discussion for this module. Understanding the relationship between work and psychology is also important because of the amount of time we spend at work. The 2017 American Time Use Survey from the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics found that individuals who had full-time jobs reported working an average of 8.5 hours on weekdays and 5.6 hours per weekend day, though only 33% of employed individuals said they worked on a weekend day. The survey included a range of possible activities we also do during the day, including shopping and caring for others and leisure and sport. Work was second only to personal care, and that includes sleep. Work tends to occupy a large amount of our time and can have a corresponding influence on our physical and mental health. Those influences may also be magnified by the rate and amount of change influencing work. Collectively, then, it's important to know what we know about people, like thinking about different geographical cultures, as we learned about in the readings. It also adds to the applicability of concepts like job crafting, which is included in the discussion for this unit. The resources and discussion for this module will provide even more detail about what IO is, the perspective of IO psychologists, and why that matters. You might find it's helpful to organize that information in terms of the 6 points highlighted in this slide.